Brodes Media.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome on in to Sports Talk with Brodes. This is one of the most chaotic weekends I can remember, and there's really not that much to discuss that happened on the field outside of Sunday with Mick Abel, who was awesome, by the way, awesome, like flat out awesome. I had so much excitement waiting for that game to happen. I had so much joy watching him on the mound. That first inning, throwing a couple Uncle Charlies that went from 12 to 6 and had people fooled. Now, full transparency, the Pittsburgh Pirates absolutely suck. You saw that Friday, 7th inning, close game. You had one hit, but somehow managed to score 4 runs because they were just walking everybody, right? And Nick Castellanos, who's swinging at the first pitch and falling down 0-2, even when they couldn't find the strike zone to save their lives, he then gets drilled by a pitch to continue that surge. The Pirates suck. That doesn't change the fact, though, that Mick Abel was extremely impressive. And we'll talk more about him as the show kind of moves along here. I think the most obvious and glaring conversation that needs to happen is what the hell went down with Jose Alvarado. And there's also an Aaron Nola on the IL stint for the first time since 1653 to get to as well. So if you can't tell, I don't know if chaos is even the proper word to describe all the craziness because it is out of this world nuts. Truthfully. Over the last couple of days, though, I've heard rumblings and seen a couple things when it came to Alvarado, but it wasn't enough to fully invest in because, well, it wasn't getting verified to my liking. So I kept an eye out, but I took steps back on it. And then earlier today, when I went on Twitter and saw the news, I went, all right, damn it. Well, I guess there was a lot of truth to it. This sucks. I mean, it flat out is pissing me off that we are losing one of our most prioritized arms and one of your most lethal weapons. Most lethal weapons. I can't talk. But that's what happens. My body starts to crumble because I just realized that we are super thin as it is. And now someone who was that special and that magnificent and that lockdown and that great is no longer available for you. Screw that he could come back and all. Guess it doesn't do a damn thing for me when you aren't reliable and available for the playoffs. And it's a huge smack in the face. And now you got to figure it the hell out, Dave Dombrowski. If you're one of the top presidents in baseball and you're one of the top guys that this entire league, they drool thinking about Dave Dombrowski because that's how a lot of baseball people talk. That's how a lot of baseball people speak about Dave is this guy is different. This guy is a machine. This guy is premier. Okay, I know this is a very shitty spot to be in, but if you are so premier, then figure it out. And truth be told, I think there's a lot of internal options that can help you out here. Now, the lefty part of this is where it gets interesting because, Matt Strom, sure, Romano as a righty is starting to turn it around a little bit, but having that flexibility of Jose Alvarado going up against a 1-2-3 in the order with the lefty arm that he is. But this is the truth, too, though, that we got to remember. He's coming into spring training rocking 102. He's been dynamite because he's been cheating. It's not, man, you really lost someone awesome, and it sucks that you no longer have him because he was doing so well. He was doing so well because he was cheating. And I'm not buying for a second that he's taking medicine to try and lose weight, and that happened to be popped with the substance abuse policy or whatever, or the substance enhancement policy, whatever it is. No, I'll tell you what happened. He had testosterone in his system because my man was looking for an edge. He was looking for an advantage. He was trying to win. So he cheated. That's what happened. So he let his teammates down. He let the fan base down. He made a very selfish decision that screwed his group. And even if if he wasn't as elite as he's shown us, if he didn't take any sort of performance enhancers. There's still something there. Unless you've been cheating your whole time here in Philadelphia. I'm sure it would have been more of a wild ride. It would have been more of an emotional ride. But we need you. We need a version of you compared to nothing at all. It's already a disadvantage every single time we go into a game because there's not many reliable arms. But this is what Dave Dombrowski can do. He can look at Taijuan Walker. He can look at Ranger Suarez. He can look at the Aaron Nola situation, although I don't think his stuff translates to bullpen arm. He can look at Mick Abel. He can look at Andrew Painter. He can look at a lot of these guys and see if there is a way to clean up the vomit. The vomit being the bullpen and the absurdity of Jose Alvarado. And you can get by a team like Pittsburgh. You could put it behind you on a day where you face a team that's 15-32 or something along those lines. At this time, 15-33, 15-31. They're a bad, abysmal baseball team. You can show up to the ballpark and do your thing and win 1-0. Even when you face Paul Skeens with Livy Dunn in the stands, facing Mick Abel, who just shoves, nonchalantly throwing 9 Ks and looking as pure as humanly possible. You can get by then, but is this really going to destroy you against some of these easier teams? And or some of these harder teams, excuse me, when you're not facing an easier team. And truth be told, you even needed Jose Alvarado in game 1. In game 1, when it was 8-4, you thought it was going to be a comfortable lead to the point where you bring in some dude named Daniel Roberts. Was that his name? And he had Daniel Robert. Poor guy, felt bad for him. He was almost crying in the dugout for his disaster of an outing. And Alvarado had to come in and he had to waste them and use them. And it doesn't really matter now because it's so irrelevant. But at the time on Friday night, I'm thinking that stuff pisses me off. But at the same time, I'm actually going to give the Phillies and Rob Thompson credit here. And this could sound very hypocritical, but hear me out. If we were screaming that you got to look at guys in the minors and you got to see what some of these arms can do because you already know the Ruizes and the Hernandezes and the Joe Rosses and all these other combination of arms that you have thrown out there have been terrible, then you got to try something different. And then they try something different and it explodes in your face and it's extremely disappointing. But if we're going to get very loud and yell and scream that you must try to see if there's someone else who could step the hell up. If they do and it fails, can you then freak out that Rob Thompson's an idiot and Dave Dombrowski's stupid and why would they ever do that? And I'm thinking, well, if you can't bring them in when you're facing a team that's 15-30 in a game where you're winning by a bunch of runs, you're playing Pittsburgh, you're at home, you should be in a comfortable spot. If that's not the time where you can try something different with the Daniel Robert, then when can you try to see if you can explore something in your bullpen with some names that are in your farm system? So I really don't knock them for it. It was just annoying that it's another outing that we had to waste Alvarado. But at this point, again, it's irrelevant because Jose Alvarado's not even here for you. And it's a shame because that stings. That's brutal. You're going to have to make maybe a couple different of moves at the deadline. You had to do that anyway. See, everything I'm about to lay out, you had to do anyway. You had to make a couple moves at the deadline, even if Jose Alvarado was clean and was here for you, and you had to look internally to see how you can rebuild this thing. But here's the luxury of where this franchise is right now. It's a lot of good arms. And I don't give a damn for 1 second if, well, this guy's a starter and this guy is this, and I don't care. There are a lot of really good arms, and you have an insane amount of depth. Sit someone the fuck down and have some very difficult conversations about what the route is moving forward. Hey, Ranger, we're going to the pen. Hey, Abel, you're staying up and you're going to join the rotation. I'm a Nola guy. But figure out what you got to do with Nose. Figure out what you got to do with Taijuan. Figure it out. Hey, Painter. Penn. I don't care that these players think that they're this and that. If you really want to maximize this window of Philadelphia Phillies baseball, Unfortunately, this is now the spot you're cornered into. You're either going to punt, you're either going to get very desperate and do stupid things to try and fix it in ways that are silly, like overpay for people at the deadline that aren't very good, and you're going to do it with multiple different guys because you don't want to screw up where some of the Painters and the Abels are. Whatever it is, they're either going to make knee-jerk reaction decisions like that, or you could see, hold on a second, we got a huge folder of names right now that are extremely successful. And we have a lot of holes to fill pitching on this staff. We have too much good pitching. Not enough starters for the rotate, or not enough spots to start them all in the rotation. But there are other ways to utilize their skill set, and they're actually really, really strong at what they do. Let's fill some of these holes internally, and then we can get to the deadline, understand what we need, have better knowledge, and from there attack. I think it's a no-brainer. I really do. Unbelievable, though. And maybe the, hey, welcome Jordan Romano to the party combo that we're starting to have, because, I mean, it's nonstop. Let me just get in, get out, punch my punch clock in, or punch my timesheet in, punch my clock into work and work out and leave and whatever it is. Clock in, clock out. That's what I'm trying to say. Romano has just been doing it. He's been strong since some stages in the April. We're rolling into the late stages of May. And it's been to the point where I'm not even sweating. Orion Kirkering maybe made me sweat in the 7th for the Sunday tilt. Should Rob Thompson have allowed Mick Abel to go the 7th? I wouldn't have cried if he did, as he was sitting around 84 pitches. Rob said 84 pitches for him in his first start, probably similar to 100, 105 in regards to the feeling. I don't really know what that means, but I didn't really have that same harsh criticism that Rob Thompson's an idiot, because I think they looked at it as he went 6. He was great. He struck out 9. Let's get him out of there. Feel really good about himself. He didn't need to go 7. He didn't need to. I'm cool with it. And I'm really pumped up for Mick Abel, man. That was really awesome. I haven't had that feeling of excitement watching somebody new. And you know about his story, right? I mean, this guy has been around forever. We've been talking about him so highly. And then last season, he was an absolute mess. It almost tells me that there's times where a pitcher can do bad, but it doesn't mean that pitcher is bad. Aaron Nola. Just saying. Because everyone would have written Mick Abel off. And then now he shoves. And from the stories you're hearing, Nick Pivetta once had some issues with holding himself professionally, maybe. And maybe there were times where Mick Abel had a difficult time being mature on the mound and being able to hold himself to a certain standard. And now he's just cool, calm, collected. Outside of his fastball going 97 and throwing heat and having that sickening, deadly off-speed pitch that had people swinging out of their shoes and looking foolish as it was touching the dirt and dropping so quickly, I really loved the way that his demeanor was on the bump. I truly appreciated the way that he held himself so calmly. And let's be honest, you got the jitters, you got the family, you're making your first start. There's a lot of drama surrounding Jose Alvarado and the PEDs. There's so much happening there. And he just looked in flow of himself. Zen? Is that the word I'm looking for you yoga people? When you're in a Zen state of mind, if that's even yoga, I could be spitting out of my ass right now. But he looked to be in a Zen place. Hey, Marshawn, what are you thinking? Let's go to work, baby. Hey, Marshawn, how you feeling? Let's mow these people down. And even listening to Mick Abel postgame, I think he sounded like a very mature guy. He's still in the early 20 range. He's been here for a while, so it feels and sounds like we've been talking about him since 1347. But maybe it just took him a bit of time to develop, had to go through the hard times, had to figure out the adversity, and then, wow, talk about vengeance. I'm not even really chalking this one up to the Pirates stink and blow, because knowing the Pirates stink and blow, that was still very impressive, regardless of competition. When it's your first go-around, you didn't walk anybody. You're not even accidentally putting anybody on base. You're not having the jitters and ice, just attacking. He's working from a spot of being ahead of the hitter consistently. Getting some swings and misses. Working from ahead. Getting a strike to start off with the first pitch. Batter after batter after batter. Not making mistakes. Not walking anybody. Whew. Incredible. Just as incredible as my friends over at Green Lawn Fertilizing. You know my friends are based in the Philadelphia area. They're best in the market. Experts in New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware, and extremely knowledgeable. They've created their own custom blend, and my lawn is in the road to recovery as we speak, and there's nothing that makes me happier. We are about to get my third round of treatments this upcoming week, and watching my grass become green again over the first two treatments have made me so happy. I've been smiling ear to ear specifically because I know when I open up my door to allow my dogs to run outside, when I open up my front door to go to my driveway, get into my truck, I see luscious lawn. I see beautiful green to the point where neighbors, family, oh my gosh, my mother, my stepdad, they came over to see my daughter and they're going, what the hell did you do outside? Because this is becoming ridiculous. I'm obsessed with it. I love it, and I want to get it done for my lawn at home. I said Green Lawn Fertilizing, Ma. Yo, Ma, Green Lawn Fertilizing. You can click the link down below in my description. It'll bring you to their website through me, so it'll say, hey, guys, Brodes sent me here, and you will acquire 50% off for your first two treatments. 50% off for your first two treatments. And you want to get started right now to make sure your lawn recovers perfectly with the time of the year that we're in. So, again, check out the link down below. Join the Green Lawn Fertilizing family. All right, we got a couple of phone calls here that I want to get to as well. I got the Aaron Nola IL stint stuck in my head as well. I mean, seriously, this guy doesn't go on the IL. So it's very weird to see him sit in the dugout and answer reporters, face them to talk about how there is an issue with his ankle. And you may be thinking, Brodes, don't be naive. Don't be stupid. Don't be dumb. There's nothing actually wrong with the ankle. This is a very friendly way for them to get him to reset, to get him to shake off the disaster. And I don't want to be naive. You're probably right that there's something to that. But knowing how bad it's been and knowing that they're talking about when he was in the outfield and, you know, he was kind of just getting things rolling a little bit. There was an ankle injury. And after that, it's been plummeting a lot with his starts compared to what we saw in Wrigley and what we saw in, this was a home game against Arizona. And I don't know. I mean, is there something to a nagging injury with his ankle where he's just not able to be as efficient? When you're having your worst career starts ever, when you're sniffing a 6+ ERA, when you're probably closer to a 3.70 ERA, I'm not being naive, but I just think that there's something that is corresponding with the issues on the bump. And maybe there is something going on. Or maybe they're hiding something that's actually worse than what they're telling us. Maybe instead of it not being that bad and them lying to try and get Aaron Nola to reset, maybe there's actually something way worse going on. They're talking about back. They're talking about how the ankle could then form into a back problem, which could form into something else, which could form into something else. Maybe there's something that we don't even want to talk about going on that's causing him to be this rough, and this is them trying to hide it the best way they can because they do that too, you know. I'm not sure, but I know this isn't the real Aaron Nola. That I know. So I'm trying to figure out why exactly. With that, let's go to the phones. We'll take your anytime hotline calls. Let's do it.
Hey, Brodes. How about Mick Abel, man? That shit was electric. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. That reminded me of Steven Strasburg's debut against the Pirates. I wanted Topper to leave him in for one more inning, and he was just carving up everybody. I mean, the strikeouts. I don't think he had a single walk, which was by far the most impressive stat. So regarding, the whole situation with Jose, I feel like this season is going to has always been going to come down to what Dave Dombrowski does at the deadline. And he needed to improve the bullpen even before we heard the news about Jose. Okay. And I'm disappointed in Jose because I really liked him. He was doing such a great job, but that shit just can't fly in our organization. Okay. To have a successful, a winning organization, that can't happen. So yeah, we just have to improve the bullpen even more. It's going to be up to Dave. And yeah, it's sickening. I think I'm confident that we can, find a way to stay afloat, but, that's disappointing. But, shout out to Mick Abel.
Yeah, Mick Abel was incredible for sure. And, I guess there is a way here, and I'm not telling you I buy this by any means, but I'm just looking at both sides of it. This could either crumble the entire season because you lost one of your most reliable arms, who, by the way, was getting ran into the ground pretty heavily here because of how much no one else stepped up. So I wouldn't have been surprised if he fell apart by July. Now, if he was cheating, who knows if these performance enhancers would allow for him to stay upright and stay active and stay available significantly longer, even with the workload, because maybe that played a role. See, people thought it was the espresso. People thought it was all the coffee and the caffeine, but my man was juicing up. And you know what? There is a way to look at this. And again, I'm not telling you I buy it, but can it be possible where this is a blessing in disguise, meaning now Dave Dombrowski has no choice? If at the deadline he had Romano come alive a little bit, and you got Matt Strahm going decently, and Jose Alvarado is still cooking, and he's doing his thing, could you see a world where Dave Dombrowski goes, we're good? All right, maybe we'll try and get a guy, someone equivalent to an Estevez, a guy, a Major League Baseball arm, but nothing where it's grabbing you, where you're going, let's fucking go. It's, okay, here's a nice Major League Baseball relief arm. Now, come on, Dave. Come on, Dave. And now this forces the organization to have some talks with Ranger. They need a lefty bullpen arm to have some talk. Because if you throw... Now, I don't know what Mick Abel is, right? I don't know what Andrew Painter is. I don't know what Aaron Nola is. I don't know what Taijuan Walker is as a bullpen arm. And as a starter, I think this year he's done a good job. But I can make the argument, you are so desperate that Ranger... As good as Ranger has been starting since that first hiccup, he can do the best job of filling in for Alvarado compared to asking anybody else to do that Alvarado role. Outside of Romano, I guess. But I'm talking more about someone who's not in the pen now, going to the pen to help out with that role. Lefty being a big emphasis. Ranger can be that. The names I mentioned are not that in Nola and Taijuan and Mick Abel and Andrew Painter. So I'm just looking at it where I know Ranger's been good as a starter outside of his first start this season, but you can fill that hole significantly easier than trying to fill the role of Jose Alvarado. And Ranger can actually do that. So now you're backed into a corner where you have to and you must make these decisions, where if this never happened with Jose Alvarado, I wouldn't have been surprised if Dave just had another blah trade deadline. He relies heavily on the names here. He'd put a Ryan Kerkering in big playoff moments, relying super heavily on him. He'd probably ask Tanner Banks to do more as a lefty in certain spots than I would feel comfortable asking him to do. So is it possible that you could buy into this is a blessing in disguise, so then they now are forced to do things that they wouldn't have done previously? And maybe forcing you to do this could save your bullpen and get it better than it would have been if Jose Alvarado was not taking PEDs. It's a long shot. It probably is a crazy thought, but I'm just throwing everything out there. Next call.
Hey, bro, this is Colin. I'm going to be honest, man. This Phillies team really reminds me of the Eagles from past seasons, especially this last season and the season before, where even today with Skeens, what a game from him is we just find a way to win. And it's either from the starters being on fire or a game like 2 days ago where we're up 8-0. We just find a way to win, man, but we need to get a replacement for Alvarado or, yeah, we're screwed, dude. We're screwed.
It could be that bad. Yeah, there's no doubt about it that losing him could be the difference in where you could go. Now, truth be told, even if they had him, I still think the shortcomings would be the bullpen. I was actually talking to somebody today, and they were discussing how the bullpen still isn't really their number one concern. They just have that fear that the second they go to the playoffs, you're going to watch Nick Castellanos swing at crap. You're going to watch Trey fail and hit 198. You're going to watch some of these guys just not deliver, and the offense flatlines again. And I can't rule that out by any means, but, their offense since maybe the early season struggles have been such a fun, enjoying spot for the team, based off of the way that they've done it, that it's nowhere close to where it once was. So I'm not there yet. I mean, maybe I get there again when they go through a drought, when they go for a big over stretch, when they can't get timely hits consistently over 2 weeks. And that's not going to happen when you have the talent on this roster and you're facing a Pittsburgh team. So to talk about the point that you just brought up, that this reminds you of the Eagles, I'm jealous. Okay, I'm jealous because I wish I had that type of positive feel about them. The actual winning against Pittsburgh, they had a job to do this weekend. They had to win 3. They won 3. That's great. I know Saturday was cool to see Bryce get going a little bit. And Bryce did have some singles. You saw a couple of extra base hits in there, a couple thrown in there, and whatever. A lot of singles in there as well, if I'm adding them all up properly. Whatever. But it's one of those series where it's kind of hard to do a lot of takeaway, right? Bryson Stott on Saturday, awesome. Wheeler, the Pirates, I almost said Steelers, didn't even stand a chance against them. The Pirates are so bad. They're so bad that there's nothing I truly take away from this series other than just win 3. This is one of those series where winning 2 doesn't even really do it justice. And they managed to win a game only scoring 1 run, right? Marshy running hard. Nick, Mr. Wheels, going from first to third, squeezing in 1, and that was enough. Against a Paul Skeens, who, by the way, is holy hell. Watching him, there were times, and I'm not trying to disrespect how much work he puts in and disrespect his work ethic, because I know it's not easy, but he does it so nonchalantly that it almost feels that he's just going on the mound and this accidentally happens. And I know it doesn't. He's put in the grind to do it. But that's how simple he makes it look. And it's a shame that he's wasting his career with a Pittsburgh franchise that doesn't even care a lick to put together a competitive squad. I feel bad for Andrew McCutchen, who I know is probably appreciating this last go-around with the Pittsburgh Pirates and saying thank you to everybody throughout his career and all the time that he spent previously at that destination. I'm sure it hits a nice spot for him. But even watching him on first base after getting a hit and celebrating all, I want to see Kutch on a team that matters. I want to see Kutch and that personality in a dugout that actually has pop and flair and fire. Same applies to Skeens. But instead, you're watching one of the most loser franchises ever. And I love Tom McCarthy. I think we all have learned to really appreciate McCarthy and Crucky and just the broadcast team that they put together when those two were on. And I know people have opinions on Ruben Amaro and Ben Davis. I don't have an issue with any of those guys. I enjoy our broadcast very much. And I understand the excitement with Mick Abel on Sunday specifically, and you can hear it in the voice of McCarthy and all, but there were times, and this is just me and my personal feel on it, we have a very professional broadcast team. This is no knock on any of those guys. I'm just telling you how I felt watching. The way they would react, like, swing and a miss! Wow! Oh my God! I'm like, well, I mean, that guy's hitting 107 on the season. That guy is 0 for his last 65. It's not that impressive. It's not that impressive. The reaction to the game with this being the series, I thought they brought World Series energy, which is great. I'm always loving high energy stuff. But it didn't match the way I felt about the competition. And I'm a Debbie Downer, apparently. I'm a bad guy. I'm an asshole. So they don't need to do it with my view in mind. All right, I want to be very clear about it. This is why I'm saying I'm not knocking them. This is a very personal flaw on my end where I thought the way they were reacting as if this was Phillies Yankees in October. This was Phillies Astros rematch. Going, this team's 15-32 they're playing right now. All right. But they weren't wrong to do what they do. I'm wrong to react this way. I want to be very, very clear. Let's take another call.
Wow, Mick Abel. Absolute great stuff today. The offense, really not a great series for them, but they got it done. Won all three, which they should have. And the Jose Alvarado stuff is pretty concerning. Our bullpen is already thin as is with him. And you just got to hope Dave Dombrowski doesn't go the route of trusting Taijuan Walker, Tanner Banks, Carlos Hernandez, Jose Ruiz in the bullpen come playoff time. They need to add, even with Jose, they needed to add a high leverage guy. So they got to add at least 2 at the deadline, but head in the right direction here.
Winning-wise, they are heading in the right direction. I didn't think the offense was that bad this series. They scored 8 in Game 1. They scored, 5 in Game 2? And when you're facing Paul Skeens, I know they won with only 1 run, but, Paul Skeens is Paul Skeens. So, and yeah, I get it. Friday night, it was a lot of walks, but my takeaway from this series wasn't anything offensively. I can't put a lot of trust in the Carlos Hernandezes either, and the Ruizes and all those guys. And maybe I'm asking too much for Painter and Mick Abel and guys like that to go into the pen, considering they're very young and raw with not much experience. And that's a lot to ask when you're discussing winning baseball in October, winning baseball in the fall, facing teams that have lineups equivalent to what the Phillies are rolling out, right? It's not as if Abel, I'm not trying to bash him here, but Abel didn't go up against Kyle Schwarber, Bryce Harper, and, guys like Bryson Stott and all. You're going up against bums of the bums. If I'm asking these guys to go into the bullpen and help us win a game and they need to pitch a 7th inning and you're facing Yordan Alvarez, right? And why would you ever have that matchup up there? I understand, but you get my point of these lineups are just a different beast. Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, and Pete Alonso, it's a big-time difference. So maybe I'm asking too much for that, but I'm not if it's Ranger. See, I would trust Ranger in that spot. I think Ranger in the bullpen makes the most sense ever. It's actually a fireable offense to not go that route. That's how good I think he is to do it and how easy they can replace his spot in the rotation because of all the talent they have that's performing at a high clip right now. Sorry, you got to make sacrifices for the team sometimes. And this is that time where you have to. It's not that we want to, it's that we have to, Ranger. Sorry, Mr. Boris. Sorry, Scott. This is something that has to happen. We'll take one more call, and then we'll wrap things up here.
That Mick Abel outing was pretty nasty, wasn't it? So now that marks the question, what do you do with him? Because the fans are obviously going to want him more.
Well, they're going to send him down. That's what they're doing. Hey, you have one start. And they made that very clear from the beginning. But Topper was asked about this postgame, and he said it very clearly and with a lot of clear, messaging in his tone. If this is what he's doing, then, he'll be here. Go look at what happened with Christopher Sanchez. He'll be right here. So they made it very clear. If this is the type of stuff that you can get out of him, for the short term, we'll figure it out. But we'll see some more Mick Abel.
I think the easy answer is sending Nola to the pen. Send Nola to the pen, let Abel take his spot.
I don't like that. I'm not a big fan of that. All jokes aside, with my Aaron Nola appreciation that I have and belief, and I will die on that hill. I don't think Aaron Nola has any bullpen stuff whatsoever. He's not a guy where his stuff relates to bullpen. He throws 92 miles per hour. Now, he has survived for 10 plus years as a starter with that. So I know that it works as a starter. And some guys do. Some guys just have it where it works for them. Obviously, in theory, you don't want to see guys throw 92 in today's era, 93, 94. It's not ideal. It's not preferred. But Aaron Nola doesn't have bullpen stuff. There are guys who do have some more bullpen stuff. He's just not one of them. I don't see him being that role ever. And that's not just a, hey, I believe in Aaron Nola thing. That's just a, I don't believe in Aaron Nola as a bullpen thing. I don't think that really makes sense. I don't see it. But maybe desperate times, desperate measures. And maybe Aaron Nola, the dog that he is, that everybody thinks he isn't, maybe he takes that opportunity by the nutsack and he goes and shoves. And he becomes the best 7th, 8th inning relief pitcher we have to offer in the postseason. Ew. You know how obnoxious I'd be if that's the case? I'd say, what'd you say about my guy? You thought he was a stiff? You thought he sucked ass? You suck ass. You know what? Now I may even be rooting for that. I may even be rooting for that scenario right there. Stud relief arm. Just filthy, disgusting, save the season relief arm. A season saver, World Series dominant relief arm. As lefty Jose Alvarado gets canned for the year due to PEDs, well, whatever, August for a little bit, blah, 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 no one cares, done for the postseason, all that matters. Who steps in and saves the year? Aaron fucking Nola. Ew. With that, thank you guys all so much. I love you. Really appreciate you. You guys are the best. Talk to you soon. Go Phils. See you on the next one.